You are an entertainer. I will tell you that you do have to sell people on this. And you will, with adults, and selling it through neuroscience and explaining that this impacts the brain. And I'll show you how you do that. And we'll talk about it a lot more tomorrow. I'll talk about why, I always go science on, especially on very like logical, skeptical adults. With and it's, I'm not gender stereotyping. I have to do that more with men. Women are more like on board, and it's probably because I'm a woman. They probably feel safer with me. And I think when you're working with the opposite sex, whether you're a man working with a woman or a woman working with a man, there is that kind of that relational thing that happens where sometimes they feel a little bit less comfortable, perhaps. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes they feel more comfortable. But sometimes same gender makes you feel more comfortable or less comfortable. Sometimes different. So it just depends. But I find that when I'm working with some of the men that I work with that are very in their heads, and it just happens to be the men that I'm working with, that I have to explain more science. And that's okay. Kids, we're having fun. We're playing a game. Let's do something fun. Let's stop talking. Talking's boring, isn't it? Let's do something different. And kids are usually open to doing that. I have not had a kid be like, I don't want to do that. And I work with a lot of bratty teenagers. Not bratty because they're bad kids, just because they don't want to be there. And they're irritated. So with them, I really have to work even more on selling what I'm doing. And it means that you need to have a wide range of stuff to do too. Because usually when I present, and I call them experiments or games, depending on the age that we're working with and the person. When I present it, I will usually give two options. So I'll say, I have something doing this, and I have something doing this. What sounds better to you? They get to make an active choice. We want to have trauma, if we're working with trauma survivors, they want to have active choices, right? So I'm never like, we're gonna do this. I'll invite them, I'll give them an option, and then they'll usually pick one. I haven't had somebody say, no, I don't want to do either. Usually they'll pick one because I've given them a choice. And then they choose one. In fact, I've had teenagers where they like really, really disconnected when we're doing something, and I'll suggest that we can either finish now, or I have a game for us to play. Or I have an activity for us, or an experiment. And usually they're intrigued. Because I variety also is king. So when we talk tomorrow, I'll talk about the importance of having a lot of different activities to do, because people want something different. And people are usually pretty honest. So I always, when I'm introducing, and we'll talk through this in a lot more detail tomorrow, but when I'm introducing an activity, I tell them, if you don't like this, if it's goofy, you don't like it, if you can tell me I don't like it, and I'll come up with something different. I also tell people when I give them an activity to take away for the week that they have every right to come back to me and say, Camea, that sucked. And that I will not be offended, and I will find something better for them. But they have to tell me why it sucked. And I do that especially with younger adults.